Oh hell, YouTube! In a recent video, I looked at the movie Raya and the Last Dragon, and I used it to explore ideas about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Now, in two shorter follow-up videos, I want to clarify two other important parts of Joseph Campbell's theories. This video will look at the key concept of the world navel. The world navel is one of the most important ideas in the hero quest because it is, in any heroic conflict, what sits at the point of contradiction between the hero and their opposite number. And yet, it is also the source of energy which gives life to both of them. The effect of the successful adventure of the hero is the unlocking and release of the flow of life into the body of the world. The torrent pours from an invisible source, the point of entry being the center of the symbolic circle of the universe. Not only is the world navel a point of energy transfer, but it's also the focal point for the geography of creation. Beneath this spot is the earth-supporting head of the cosmic serpent, the dragon, symbolical of the waters of the abyss, or the unconscious, which are the divine creative energies. Thus, the world navel is the symbol of continuous creation. The dome of heaven rests upon the corners of the earth, sometimes supported by four kings, dwarves, giants, elephants, or turtles. Hence the traditional importance of the mathematical problem of squaring the circle. It contains the secret of the transformation of heavenly into earthly forms. The hearth in the home, or the altar in the temple, is the hub of the wheel of earth, the womb of the universal mother, whose fire is the fire of life. And the opening at the top of the lodge, or the crown, the pinnacle or lantern of the dome, is the hub or midpoint of the sky, the sun door through which souls pass back from time into eternity. Campbell claims that all of these components are parts of metaphors which are used in the construction of religious systems, but also sacred sites and temples across the whole span of mythological time. And these motifs are reflected in the many different religious traditions of the world. In this way, human followers of every kind can feel the presence of the world navel when they worship. And beyond this, the symbolic approach to the source of all energy allows the congregation to see that the principle applies everywhere. So the world navel is omnipresent. One can achieve communion with the underlying principle and realize that ultimately the hero and their opposite are both one. For a culture still nurtured in mythology, the landscape, as well as every phase of human existence, is made alive with symbolical suggestion. The world navel, then, is everywhere, and since it is the source of all existence, it yields the world's plenitude of both good and evil. And on that note, we should also point out that this is exactly why all religious systems have a way of justifying and thus forgiving any transgressions that their followers may commit, for better and very often for worse. If I can editorialize at the end here, what we lack in the modern world is a viable mythological system to incorporate the new discoveries of science, except, that is, for science itself. This is a controversial assertion for both sides of the argument. For the traditionalists, it is heresy to replace the ancient traditions with science, and for the scientists, it is heresy to say that science is itself a mythology. And I must be clear, I still consider science to be the best game in town. It is my preferred creed, if you will. But the world navel is not a place in reality, it is a place in mind. It is an equilibrium point for a cultural entity. And what we need to realize is that in the modern world, there is no viable and stable cultural entity rather than a global one. And so it is a global world navel that we should be working towards. And that requires a degree of scientific literacy for a large number of reasons which I don't have time to get into here. Science is like a mythology, but it has also been demonstrated to be effective for regulating the modern mass society. That is a little bit of an abstract way of putting it, so let me answer directly. In what way is science like a mythology? Well, in two ways, I would say. First, just like the ancient mythologies, the laity in this day and age are not able to directly observe the truth. Yes, it's totally possible to satisfy yourself the way that matter is composed of atoms and atoms are composed of subatomic particles, for instance. But in my mind, tragically, a huge number of people do not bother to do this, and even those who do cannot live their life that way. Atoms can never direct our daily lived experience, and so they remain part of an esoteric realm, even to the initiated. Secondly, and I would say more importantly, science is like a mythology because there are a number of outcomes that are plausible under science, that are so bizarre that they would be considered magic or equivalent if they turned out to be true. It's important to note that science does not acknowledge these without compelling evidence, but equally it is unable to completely rule them out either. Some examples of these are alien conspiracies, theories of extraterrestrial species influencing human civilization in some way. New energy sources. Modern physics knows a lot about energy except what it actually is, but it's still possible that some new and more efficient form of energy could be discovered, like dark energy or antimatter, or even thorium, which is an already tested form of cheaper, safer nuclear power. The multiverse is the idea that many copies of yourself exist, and many or even infinite versions of your life might play out somewhere. This can happen in several ways. It can even happen in this universe, just an unimaginable distance away. And there are higher dimensional realities. Our view of reality might actually only be a part of a truer, realer reality in more numerous dimensions. Our world of 4 plus dimensions may just be a part of the machine of a larger system, a system with a different purpose. And finally, for my part, there are the mathematical constants, the world navels of maths, if you will. There are many of these, but among the most famous are pi, e, and the golden ratio phi. These are numbers which disappear off into incomprehensible infinity, but which underpin deeply fundamental and simple aspects of our understanding of the world we live in. And they have done so, crucially, since our earliest existence, since the very time that the earliest myths of Campbell were also being forged. Is it impossible that some revelatory understanding of reality lies concealed beneath their fractaline complexity? I'll leave that one for you to consider. Bye for now.